Alright, this video is going to show you how to make a Dune card using the templates. It assumes that you have Photoshop though. If you don't have Photoshop, the best option might be to use, eventually I'll provide an exported version of some of these frame backgrounds, and then you could use a free program like GIMP to assemble card frame templates out of these parts. So you've got the tops and that kind of thing, tops and bottoms of the frames. This current one is just for the plan type of card, so I've got the top with one cut showing and the bottom showing, and the art is in a separate area here with a mask that keeps it faded around the frame. So it's carefully set up so that the art just fits in and shows enough with the frame. So the way that you can source the artwork is CCG Trader. They have really good versions of all the cards here from the originals. One of the downsides is that they all appear to be scans, which means you've got a lot of the granular look of the original cards. So one of the things we can do is we can use the snip tool when we're viewing a card in Windows. Actually, let me just redo that. So that's Shift, Windows and S is the shortcut for the snip tool. If you don't know, you can come and snip a part like this. That's about right. When it pops up, we can open it here, save it. It'll just say I save mine to pictures. It's just convenient. And then close that. We go to a free AI image upscaler like Zyro. Now it only works with smallish files, so this sort of cropped frame out of one of these cards is perfect. This will take a few moments. If you didn't want to do the AI thing, because it does look a little bit like a sort of slick comic book at the end of it and loses a bit of the original's charm, sometimes it loses a few details too, you could use something like Waifu 2X, which is just an upscaler and with some experimental features. It has some denoising, but it doesn't really change the overall image. It just makes it bigger, higher resolution. But once this is done, we're going to bring it over into the card, and you can see the slider shows if it looks good after the original. This one looks good. Some of them look really bad and you have to use a different method. So I'm going to download the image. I'm going to show in folder and just drop it straight into my Photoshop project. Close all of that out. Now it's dropped it into the wrong layer, so I'm actually going to drag the layer and move it down to images underneath these extra things here. I'm going to delete the old ones because they're in my way. And I'm just left with this image. Now I want to press the V key. This gives transform controls. Transform is for placing the image. And holding the Shift key, I can move it up and down while keeping it snapped vertically. Horizontally, so it won't move side to side. So I'm going to move it up till just none of the top of the artwork is showing anymore, and it's sunk into the frame there. And it's hidden by the fade. And that looks good, but one of the things I'm going to have to do with this one is I might just have to extend it at the bottom a little bit. So with that, I'm going to take this and just pull it, maybe even hold Shift. You can spend quite a bit of time fiddling around with the artwork and getting it exactly positioned how you want it. This one I'm also going to move over a little bit. I don't want any of that original card frame that's stuck in the image showing in my final card. And one other thing I can do to check that is I've got the rim up here, which will show if you send this file to makeplayingcards.com, for example, this will show you before you get into that program what it would look like as a final card. And you can see here it's nice and cropped in so that the artwork is showing just the best bits, and it's filling up the entire frame of the card and none of the hard parts of the image are showing. So that's looking good. Pretty much I'm happy with the art at this stage, so I'm going to go to the text. Now I'm going to bring this back to my two windows and go back to the card itself so I can compare side by side, and I can see this card uses a symbol up on the top right. So I'm going to go up to here to my talents top section, and I'm going to enable it, and you can see that it shows up the I think this one's the diplomacy or whatever talent. I can drop it down. Arbitration is showing, so I'm going to turn that off, and I want battle, so I'm going to turn battle on, and you can see that the talent cost is a text value, and that's here. If I switch to my text tool by pressing T, I can now select that box, and I can change the value to 3. Okay, there's still a problem though. I'll close the talents top thing so it's not getting in my way. I want the 2-cut top of the frame so that I can see the symbol better. So there we go. I fixed that now with the 2-cut top, and I'm ready to put in the rest of my text. So I'm going to click on the title. With the text tool, wherever you click, if you click in a space that doesn't have text already, it tries to create a text box. It can get really confusing if you're not used to using it. But there's ways you can, you just make sure you're clicking in an existing text box if you don't want to create a new text box. It can be a bit fiddly, and if I want to get out of the text, I tend to click up here to the elliptical marquee tool M, or it's normally the rectangular marquee, it doesn't really matter. And that just allows me to clear my tool so that I can change to other tools with shortcuts on the keyboard. I'm going to click here again, and we've got a problem. This card title is too long, so I've actually got a long heading version. I'm going to close full heading and make visible long heading. I'm going to click here again and see if it'll fit. And if it doesn't, we've got a third option. And this time we're going to need our third option. So I'm going to click away that and come back to full heading, go back to T, click in here, and I'm just going to Shift Enter. Shift Enter will make a break and keep them within, it won't do a long, like if I just press Enter, it'll make it too far. So I Shift Enter, Expeditionary Invasion, now I can see my title correctly. Click up here to get away, press T again to go to Text Tool, click on the cost and change it to 4. Click on the artist, change it to Debbie Hughes. Click away. If you want to click off text, you can click on another part of the card that's far away. I usually click on the opposite side of the card and it will clear away from my text. Down here, Venture, space, you can keep these dots in place if you don't know how to type them. To type them, you hold Alt and press 0149 on a keypad. You can't do it on a laptop or a mobile. You need a keyboard. Okay, Venture, Battle, click away, click on this, which is a different text box, and I don't need the bold text, so I'm just going to go back to here. I'm going to select it all and start typing. So let's type our rules in. Capture a target, subdued Fife. Accept a homeworld. Or Dune. Click away. Click on the flavor box. When petitioning proves ineffectual and negotiations. I like to avoid hyphens over lines, so hopefully I can fit everything in just fine. Reach an impasse. There's yet one path that may lead to victory, and I'm guessing that path is invading. Good old Dune. All right, so that's our card done, and you can see it's looking pretty good. So I'm going to go up here, turn on my rim just to see what the card will look like. I'm ready to export. So the export function is up here, File, Export, Export As. Or you can click the keyboard shortcut to do it as well, which is complicated, but I've got it in muscle memory by now. So I have my scale set to 200, so the card's nice and big. It's going to be a PNG. I think the file's at 500 ppi, which is pretty good. It's good for make playing cards, but then I still put it through a filter to make it 800 ppi so that it will be perfect with the playing card printing. And my experience with make playing cards is the higher quality the file, the better the card looks up to, I think, their maximum of 800. So I'm going to export that, save it with my other ones, and I'll name it Expeditionary Invasion and call it done. And then to start a new card, I just Control Shift S straight out of this file, and I keep working. So I've got surprise. I had this file started off as Surprise Assault. I'm going to save it now as Expeditionary Invasion. So I'm making duplicates of the file, and if I want to start a new one, I can start by saving a new one. I'm keeping each card file because I might decide later that I didn't like how something looked and go back and change it. One last thing you can do is you can modify the art by adjusting levels. So I've got in here some controls. You can click this little box, Properties, on one of these controls to modify things. So with the levels control, you can find the black point. So I can click the blackest point on the card. If I hold the Alt key, and it's not working for some reason. Okay, we're going to skip that. Don't use this control. Oh, it's not on, that's why. So make sure the layer is visible here. Holding the Alt key, it will show you where the image is darkest, and as you click it, it will tend to adapt its relative levels to where you click. So you want to click in the blackest part of the image, and it will make the blacks really black. If you click the white control here, you want to click the whitest part of the image. Let's try here, and then it will make the whites really white. And you can zoom in to get the whitest part. The white squares, the white pixels are usually what you want. Once you've got that, your art's good. You can also add the saturation to make the image pop a little bit more. Doesn't actually look that good on this one, so I'm going to leave the saturation off. You can adjust the saturation levels here. I've got it at +19, but you might do something like +5, which is a little bit more subtle. It just adds a tiny little bit of character. And that's pretty much the whole process.